Let's set the stage with our Hannity watch on these very wall negotiations that have been ongoing. Now, for days, Democrats, they've just been up to their old tricks, once again playing politics, trying to torpedo border security talks with what is an outrageous demand, actually aimed, think about this, at curtailing the effectiveness of ICE. We know they want to abolish it in the end, but over the weekend, we learned Democratic negotiators, look at this, they were pushing for an arbitrary cap on the number of illegal immigrants that ICE would be allowed to detain at one time. And the Democrats, they wanted to set the cap at only 16,500 individuals. In other words, if capacity exceeds that number for any reason, unvetted, unverified, undocumented illegal immigrants would essentially pour free into the United States, and border enforcement would be powerless to stop them. Even criminals, those with violent track records, gang ties, cartel ties, would all be free to enter the country illegally and not face any kind of immigration detention. Now, keep in mind, look at the last 2 years alone. 266,000 arrests of criminal aliens have been carried out, including 100,000 assault charges, 30,000 sex crimes charges, 4,000 murder, homicide charges. And as we speak, nearly 180,000 illegal immigrants live right here in the U.S., including some of those violent felons. They are already facing removal orders. But Democrats, they want to cap ICE detention at 16,500. Well, that's insane, because let's say 16,501. What if it turned out to be a murderer, a rapist, part of a drug cartel? As President Trump, he's been calling for more funding, more resources, more security to tackle the scourge of drugs, gang violence, human trafficking, sex trafficking of young girls. And more Democrats seem content with trying to make border security, more difficult? Now, look, the president's fighting this as it is, a life and death issue. This is about your family's safety and security first. Democrats, once again, playing just pure politics. It's pretty outrageous. They seem to hate Donald Trump, that is more important to them based on their actions than your security, your family's security, more important than DACA, Dreamers, even furloughed employees that they claim to care so much about. You know, these are the things they say they wanted just a few short years ago in Obama's second term. They were advocating the same policies Donald Trump is now pushing hard for. As Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell put it, in the Democratic Party, the radicals, as I've been saying, the radical, extremist, new socialist Democratic Party, they're running the show. Take a look.
This is a poison pill that no administration, not this one, not the previous one, would or should ever accept. Imagine the absurdity of this. House Democrats want to set a limit on how many criminal aliens our government can detain. This is where some Democrats are. A get-out-of-jail-free card for criminals because the radical left doesn't like U.S. immigration and customs enforcement.
Now, for months, we told you the radical extreme left has consumed the Democratic Party. Now we're watching, open borders, that agenda play out in real time. They want to eliminate ICE. But Americans now are waking up very, very quickly and seeing how extreme this new Democratic Socialist Party is. Now, the president's approval rating, look at this, his highest point in 2 years. Look at after his State of the Union, CBS Evening News polls, 72% of the American people approved of the president's State of the Union remarks about immigration. So, by the way, if you're a Republican, especially in the Senate, we'll talk to Lindsey Graham tonight, it's time for you to take a stand. Do your job and actually fulfill your promises and stop being so afraid of ever being courageous. Keep your promises to the American people. And we'll see, because if they did that, we'd be safer. And as more details about this compromise become available, here's the bottom line. If you are a Republican senator or House member and you're too weak to take a stand, then it's probably time for you to retire. Go home. Let somebody who's willing to fight take your place. And if Democrats, they continue to stonewall, play politics with national security, drugs coming into the country, in this brand new deal that we'll find out more about, the president will have no choice. He will veto this and declare a national emergency. Why? Because as commander-in-chief, the president has a lot of perfectly legal options for building the wall, including, look at this, 10 U.S.C. 284. That gives the president the authority to complete the, quote, construction of roads and fences and installation of lighting to block drug smuggling corridors across international boundaries of the United States. By the way, a fence can be defined a million ways. And, of course, the primary smuggling corridors into the U.S. are right there at our southern border. That's where 90% of the heroin in this country comes from, those borders. And that means that helps put an end to the opioid epidemic in this country. So tonight, Congress has two options. They do their jobs, they agree on a compromise that doesn't weaken border security, or they can do nothing, and they can get left behind. Because the wall, I predict, is going to be funded and going to be built. I believe the president is unrelenting, tenacious, and is doing everything and will do everything in his power to keep his promise, get this done, even declaring a national emergency, which may even happen this week. And if that's what it takes, fine. That's what it takes. He took an oath to protect this country. Do you not want to be protected and more secure? Do we want to stop the cartels, the gangs, MS-13, human traffickers, drug traffickers, those that we haven't vetted that may bring harm to our fellow Americans? And we look forward to seeing what this agreement entails. I'm very dubious. And also, of course, when far-left radicals inside the Democratic Party, when they're calling the shots, like Congresswoman Omar, well, negotiations are probably likely to break down. Remember when she publicly accused border security officials of torturing refugees, or when the first caravan came and we had Border Patrol having to use tear gas to protect themselves from rocks and bottles being thrown at them? Remember, they were accused of gassing children. Well, tonight in our Hannity Watch on the radical, extreme Socialist Democratic Party, we're seeing yet another sad, extreme chapter unfolding before our eyes, again surrounding Congresswoman Omar. For a group that constantly tries to claim the moral high ground on everything, now the Democratic, modern, extreme, radical party has an anti-Semitism that is now running amok inside that party. Look at this over the weekend. Omar was lampooned for a series of anti-Semitic tweets pushing a conspiracy theory, quote, that Jewish money was behind support for America's closest ally in the Middle East, the only democracy there. She tweeted that it was, quote, all about the Benjamins. Now, after some pressure from some inside her own party, she's, quote, apologizing for offending Jewish Americans. The problem is this is nothing new. Oh, they know who she is. They know what she has said in the past. She's been totally obsessed with hating Israel for a long time. Once tweeting, no apology, Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. And sadly, Omar is not the only Democrat with anti-Semitic ties. In 2006, her colleague, Congresswoman Tlaib, authored an op-ed for the Nation of Islam's publication. It's called The Final Call. Remember, this is Louis Farrakhan's paper. And Farrakhan frequently refers to Jews as satanic, termites, and worse. Also once said that Hitler was a very great man and that Jews were responsible for 9/11. This is a sick, ugly, despicable anti-Semite. And those that write for that paper associating with him, like Congresswoman Tlaib, well, it's not a good look for a sitting congresswoman to start with. Now, it comes also as other prominent Democrats are facing many of their own scandals involving race. Look at the Commonwealth of Virginia. Disgraced Democratic Governor Ralph Northam. He is digging himself into an even deeper hole amid continued calls to step down following a racist yearbook photo and his admitted use of blackface in the 80s. And after vowing to stay in office to promote racial healing. Really? Then the governor said this over the weekend when he was talking about Virginia's slave past. Listen closely to what he says.
If you look at Virginia's history, we're now at the 400-year anniversary. Just 90 miles from here, in 1619, the first indentured servants from Africa landed on our shores in Old Point Comfort, what we call now Fort Monroe. And while
also known as slavery.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, while we have made a lot of progress in Virginia, slavery has ended, schools have been desegregated, we have ended the Jim Crow laws, easier access to voting. It is abundantly clear that we still have a lot of work to do.
Now, Northam's remarks during this entire saga have shown his deep, deep disconnect with the people of his state who certainly deserve better. Indentured servants, really? Unfortunately, the top three leaders in Virginia, they're all embroiled in scandal. That includes the Democratic Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax. He is refusing to step down after two very serious allegations of violent sexual misconduct. And in one case, he's accused of rape. And by the way, the person making the accusation has many people that she told at the time backing up her story. But staff members are reportedly now quitting, refusing to work for the embattled lieutenant governor. By the way, where are all those I believe senators? We're going to keep you updated on the latest developments. And, of course, the scandal in Virginia, it all started with Governor Northam's radical position where he actually advocated for out and outright infanticide. Remember, he said, well, first we'll deliver the baby and make the baby comfortable, and then we'll let the mother decide if there's going to be any medical assistance for the baby. Really? That bill legalizing abortion even during the birthing process after 9 full months. This is infanticide. Pretty sick stuff. And tonight, that is only one in a long list of radical positions of this new extreme radical Democratic Socialist Party, including many who are now running for the nomination to be president in 2020 for their party. Which brings us tonight to our Hannity watch on the extreme 2020 Democrats. We'll start with New Jersey Senator Spartacus Cory Booker, comparing the Green New Deal to going to the moon and defeating the Nazis. And Booker's talking about Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's bizarre, horrific new piece of legislation. Now, let's see. That would plan the end of consumption of fossil fuels in 10 years. By the way, the planet's going to die in 12 years. What's the point? By the way, and seriously, don't write off Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and her grandiose and disastrous plans. She is merely just saying and acting on what Democrats really believe but try and hide from you. Look at all of those Democrats now coming out in support of this Green New Deal, which calls for no more oil, no more gas, no more fossil fuels of any kind, not even any nuclear energy. And it doesn't stop there. This bill that would eliminate airplanes, gas-powered automobiles and trucks, gas-powered ovens and stoves. By the way, if you like steak, no more cows, too much flatulence. And they commit CO2 emissions. No more cows. You better load up on your steak and put it in a freezer. And get this, her proposal also plans literally to remodel, rebuild, retrofit every single building in America to meet these insane new energy efficiency standards of hers. And it gets worse. According to her office, every American is guaranteed a job and a salary. By the way, whether or not they're willing to work or not, although they're trying to back down on that part of it. You're talking about guaranteed health care, guaranteed jobs, guaranteed vacations, trillions and trillions and trillions in new taxes. 70% tax rate is just the beginning for her. And for those of us who are willing and able to work, well, but that is just one part of the Democrats' insane push to radicalism, this new platform. Look at Elizabeth Warren. She wants a brand new tax on wealth. You know, that means your savings. That's money that has already been taxed. After you pay 50, 60 cents of every dollar, if you manage to save anything, she wants another bite at the apple. And by the way, 40% when you die. They want another bite at the apple. Another 10% if you live in New York. They want half again. You pay to die in America. Senator Kamala Harris wants to end all private insurance. 187 million Americans wiped out of their private insurance. And by the way, to put in place a government-run health care system called Medicare for All. Kirsten Gillibrand also says the same. No more private insurance. Listen, they're now more socialist than their crazy cousin Bernie from Vermont. And Senator Gillibrand also wants to completely abolish ICE, as do others. This is the party of higher taxes, open borders, eliminating ICE, late-term abortion, and government control of all industry and every aspect of your life. They're going to take away all your insecurities, and they're going to promise you health care and housing and daycare and college and a job and a vacation. Okay. And then they're going to nationalize the energy industry. How did that Obamacare thing work out? Keep your doctor, keep your plan, and save less. In other words, they want to take capitalism, the very system that is the envy of the world, that has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system in history, and flush it all down the toilet with no hope of ever getting it back, destroying the single best wealth-producing structure in the history of man. Even poor people in America, compare them and their lives in most cases. If you're not homeless, you know, do they have running water? Do they have toilets? Do they have kitchens? Do they have refrigerators, freezers? Are they able to cook? I've been to some of the poorest housing projects in America. I've been inside. So ask yourself, are those values that will make America great? Are those values that will improve your life at all? Do you think anybody with money is going to stay here? They're going to leave like they're leaving New York, New Jersey, Illinois, and California in droves, tens and tens of thousands a year, 400,000 new residents in Texas and Florida, no state income tax.